going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out the designs behind the lead sounds and character development. If you like videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, you can head over to patreon.com/litlords. Also, if you're looking to learn more about music production, I provide lessons on my Patreon platform, so head over there and check it out. Let's dive in. So let's get a refresher here. This is character development.
Let's go.
So specifically today we're going to be checking out the synth section here, right here. Super thick, super mid-rangey, but it all comes together real nice. And if we go ahead and open this up here, these sounds, this design is consisting of three different layers to come together here. So we'll take a look at all the sounds soloed out here real quick. You've got your bass sound right here. This is the bass sort of lead that really lays the foundation for the rest of the sounds. Really, really dubby kind of sound. Sounds like this. And then here's the actual lead, the very like plush, wobbly lead that you're hearing in the overall mix. And there's two instances of this main lead here, this tumbler lead with different harmonics. So let's go ahead and just dive into the actual main lead here, which is this. So if we kind of open this up here, I'll just play some notes. So that's what it sounds like there. And you know, we made this in SERUM. One oscillator, this is a dist 8 FWOP. I don't know what the hell that is, but it's in the digital section here just below the dirty saw wave table. And this sound kind of comes together using the oscillator A with an A warp of ASIM plus with a filter using comb plus filter here. And it sounds like this because we're modulating that wobble that you're hearing. You know, this is coming from our modulation of the ASIM with LFO2 on this nice little ramp, little, you know, skateboard ramp here. You know, this looks like a whale, you know, this whale ramp. We'll call this the whale ramp. We threw LFO2 onto the ASIM and we threw it onto the cutoff of the comb plus to kind of achieve this. And you'll see if we kind of play around with this on the comb filter, the comb plus filter, it's at -8 here. But if we kind of change this, you'll see how the tone starts to change. And you can really, it gets a lot punchier in its delivery and a lot more kind of boxy, you know. But the real tone is kind of coming from here in our A warp here. Now we're at 50% here, but you'll see if we move this around how the tone starts to change once again. So I just moved it around and found, you know, I was looking for something really thick and in that mid-range sort of frequency spectrum here to really kind of take up the width and girth of the mix down here. Now if we check out the effects section, we've got a little bit of chorus, very slight, just to kind of widen things up. But most of the width of this sound is coming from our unison here. If we put this back to one unison, you see the sound is playing right down the middle. And I didn't want that because once again, I wanted it to take up the width and that girth and really kind of be the sound that you're hearing overall in the mix here. So I just duplicated the unison, put it to 2 and threw the detune at, you know, 0.10 and it sounded really nice. Look how much wider the sound is. Here's with the unison, here's without the unison. Right down the middle, super sharp. Now, nice and wide. It's comfortably sitting in the mix now. And if you take a look at the second patch here, which sounds like this, it's the same patch, but it's got a completely different tone, as you can see. And we're achieving that basically through moving our cutoff around. So moving the cutoff around with LFO2, we kind of changed that tone once again, you know. And like I say, a lot of the fundamental patterns that I follow within my sound design revolves around harmonics and tone. If you can move around these, you know, your warps and your oscillator warps and your filter sort of cutoffs and resonances, you can create endless tones and possibilities with your sounds. So that really kind of laid the foundation for the design session that we had on character development here. Moving in, you know, same stuff going on here same stuff going on in the effects section. We used a compressor here with multiband to really give it some volume. And you'll see without the compression, it's really low. And we bring in this multiband compression, it really brings it up. And you can further kind of mess with the tone here by moving these you know, sliding bands around here. You know, so you can really dial in your tone really nicely by messing around with the multibands here. Really nice. We didn't really use anything, the filter here, this filter was just sort of an experiment, something that I kind of tried to play around with, but it really didn't make it in here, so we can actually turn it off. And the chorus was just slight to break slightly. I wanted to slightly break up the sound, so I brought in a chorus, and it's extremely subtle. You really can't even tell the difference. Here's without the chorus, with the chorus. It's just extremely subtle. It just breaks up the sound a little bit and helps it sit in the mix just at, you know, 1 to 2% better. And, you know, they sound really nice. When we go in and play with our low end now, I did all the low end separately in the mix, using a hip-hop sub bass because I wanted it to be clear. I wanted the low end to be untouched by everything else in the mix and really have its own space. So I used the hip-hop sub bass, which is a stock sort of instrument inside of Ableton Live here. So when we layer that together, sounds really nice. And you can see here that I high cutted the sub bass, so it's not playing anything above 215 hertz because I didn't want any of those sort of mid-rangey to low mid-range harmonics interfering with the SERUM patches. So everything kind of fits in like a sandwich and has its place inside of the mix. As for the last sort of sound here, which is our fundamental additive sound here, which is the really dubby sound, which is this one. It's got a little bit of reverb you can hear right off the bat, but that really helped it to achieve that really kind of dub Rasta sort of sound. And now if we kind of take a look deeper into it, it's just we use the FFT squeal, which is another digital wavetable here just below Animal 1, FFT Animal 1. We use oscillator A and B this time with a sync half win, you know, on our A warp, and an FM from A on our B warp here. Same sort of whale, you know, whale table, you know, the whale table here. And then for our filter, we use the low pass, high pass 12 here. Without the filter, sound sounds like this. With it, now you can see it really tamed that low mid range. We gave it that boost with the resonance and the cutoff here, and really kind of dialed in that low mid range tone that gave it that sort of little bump to get it to really gel nicely with the other sounds. Now you'll see the sync win here, our A warp isn't really doing anything but taming these really high frequencies here. That's what I found it to do here. And I kind of tamed it at around 1.56%. And you'll see as we move this dial around, listen in the high frequency spectrum. Some of these frequencies can get really hard to listen to on a loud sound system. So I really was looking for a way to kind of dial back on some of the sounds in that high frequency spectrum that this really distorted sort of wavetable was bringing up here. And the sync win really did that without having to do sort of like an EQ correction there. We used the chorus to really widen out the sound because it's really thin of a sound. Check it out without the chorus. It lost all its life. The chorus really played a big part in thickening up the sound and helping it sit in its own position inside of the mix. Here's with the chorus now. Without. So it really makes a big difference. Once again, we used the compressor with a multiband. I threw the threshold back just slightly, and we got some really good volume out of it. Check it out. Without the compressor. With the compressor. Sounds so much better. Filter we didn't really use. It was one of those things I was kind of playing around with. Actually at 0%, so we can turn that off once again. And then we've got that plate reverb, which is really just adds some nice little shimmer to the end, and really kind of, you know, helps it get that nice separation that you want from the rest of the sounds. Now if we play all these together, we're coming up with the final product that you're hearing in the overall mix, which sounds like one patch like this. And that's the design behind character development.